go ahead and ask them about their experience with baldness. Or the people who say life will go on. Of course it will. That's the maddening thing. Life was going on when I got the worst news of my life, with or without you. You think, why won't it stop? Why can't time stand still for me? Other mothers were still driving the carpool, or making plans for the weekend, or deciding whether or not the lamp should go there or there. Stop. Please. Oh, I know life will go on, but it will never be the same. And neither will I. At first, I was angry. I mean angry. And people don't like you to be angry, but it's totally appropriate. Cancer is a terrorist. And that dawned on me on September 11th. I was sitting in front of the television with my family and the rest of the nation, crying my eyes out as I watched the Twin Towers fall. And hours later, I realized I was crying from a much deeper place inside. I was angry for New York, and I was angry for myself. Cancer is a foreign invader that unexpectedly and cruelly attacks and changes the landscape of a woman's body. Oh, New York is still New York, but it will never be the same. And neither will I. On the inside, I know I'm all that I ever was, but hello, we live in a world where the outside matters. I've never had great breasts, but I had them. They seemed to please my husband, and they fed my babies, and they definitely made my stomach look smaller. You know, when you pledge allegiance, you put your hand over your heart, but it's really your breast. And when you cross your heart and hope to die, it's right in between your breasts that you make that promise. And I didn't want to live without them. That's not true. I didn't want to have to live without them. But I didn't want to die with them either. It's not a tough choice intellectually, but when were breasts intellectual? I wore myself out, just swinging at this elusive enemy. I would dodge and weave and punch and punch and punch, but it was like going toe-to-toe with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. There was just nothing to hit. So I'd spar with my mom or my husband, taking all my cancer anger out on them. If my mom was letting the kids do something I didn't like, I'd say, hey, why don't you just wait to do that until I'm not here anymore? One day I jabbed at my husband. I said, you know, you say you'll love me without my breast, but you don't have much choice, do you? And he said, hey, if I lost my arm, would you love me any less? Of course not. And he took my face in his hands, and he said, can you trust me to love as good as you? Oh, God, forgive me. I felt so alone in the ring. Sometimes in the middle of a crowded room, I just wanted to yell out, does anybody here have breast cancer? Just so I could look in their eyes and know that I wasn't alone. I don't even want to go to the bathroom alone. I didn't want to go through cancer alone. It was Tuesday morning, and I was driving the carpool, but in my mind, I was running around the ring with God. I was in the middle of all my usual questions. Why me? What's going to happen to my family? I dropped the kids off at school, grateful once again that they're kids and that they miss most of my tears. And I was sitting in my car in the parking lot of Starbucks feeling so small. I wanted to know that God knew what was going on. Like when someone you love is out of town, when something happens, you think, if only you had been here. So I had to tell God what happened. Not because he'd been gone, but because I realized I had. So I said to him, I got cancer. And I heard him say, I know. And I'm here. And I think I heard God cry. And as clearly as I felt his love and care, I saw the enemy that I was fighting. I realized I was in the ring with an enemy far bigger than cancer. It's a deep, dark enemy that hides in cancer and divorce and death, in any overwhelming loss. The kind of enemy that sneaks up on you and whispers in your ear, you're not going to make it. Ooh, you are totally alone. Ooh, and you are going to die. Ooh. The kind of enemy that sprays its foul-smelling deception at 2 a.m, which happens to be the time you are least prepared to fight, sneaks up on you and whispers, you're never going to live to see Katie get married. Oh. The big D that is far worse than the big C. Despair. It isolated me from the love and the hope that I needed in order to survive. It terrorized me and kept me on the ropes. And in that way, it doesn't matter if you're facing an illness or a bad marriage or the loss of your child. If you don't realize you are fighting despair, then it will just attack you repeatedly and you will go down. And for the first time in my whole ordeal, I was thankful. Because I realized that as bad as physical cancer is, it can be treated. It can be cut out or given chemotherapy or radiation. But disappointment, disillusionment, bitterness, and despair are far harder to treat. Someone once said, the greatest tragedy of life is not death, but what dies inside us while we live. I discovered where angels live and what they wear. They live quietly as nurses and encouragers in cancer wards and hospitals. And they wear white shoes, and they try to hide behind radiant smiles. And they remind you not to balance your checkbook while you're on pain pills. Believe me, there are far easier ways to bring home a paycheck. May God bless those angels everywhere. One day, one of those angels was reading the Bible to the woman in the bed next to me. She was in the book of Isaiah, and she read, your hope will not be cut off. I don't know, call me sick, and I am. But that verse spoke to me. My breast, a very important part of me, had been cut off. But my hope, the most important part of me, would not be. God promised me that in the hospital that day. And now I can smile because I have hope. And I can laugh. And I can make jokes about things like hair loss and radiation treatment and chemotherapy with other women who have been there, or be totally free to just cry my eyes out. Oh, God bless the woman that said, just because chocolate has no medicinal properties, that doesn't diminish its healing power. Or the sweet older lady that said, if you discover a cure for insomnia, would you call me? I'll be up. This is the victory, the survival of our hope. This is the victory over cancer or divorce or death or any overwhelming loss. And so I fight every day against despair to keep my hope alive. The arrival of hope in my battle with despair was like discovering a savings account I never knew I had. Hope generates nothing on its own. Its only strength lies in what it hopes in, that the loving, merciful God of the universe is good and he is looking after me. And no one who ever fights with their hope in the Lord ever loses the last round. I have cancer, but cancer does not have me. In order for cancer to win, it would have to be able to follow me beyond the grave, and it cannot. It can take my cells, but it cannot take my sound. And it can have my hair, but it cannot have my heart. And it can claim my breath, but it can never claim my spirit.
Thanks for joining me. I happen to agree with the person who said sometimes our questions tell us more than the answers. Many people don't care enough to ask the questions, and some people's answers are too pat to answer anything. So lean into your life and listen to the questions your soul is asking. There is one to whom we can bring all our questions. It's in His arms that we are safe to learn and grow and heal. Thanks for watching.